In this lesson, we're going to do a brief overview of solving linear equations algebraically. Our strategy in order to solve a linear equation is to first distribute if it's necessary. If our equation involves multiple fractions, we're going to want to multiply by the least common denominator of the fractions in order to get rid of them so that we have an easier equation to solve. We're going to combine any like terms first, and then once that's done and both sides of the equal sign are completely simplified expressions, we're going to use addition or subtraction to move all the variables to one side and the constants to the other. And then using either multiplication or division, we're going to isolate that variable. The last step is to write the solution to the equation as whatever the variable is equal to the number, equal to the value, and that will complete our process. All right, so let's use our strategy in order to solve some linear equations. The first one we have is negative 3 times x plus 2 is equal to 6. According to our strategy, the first thing that we should do is distribute that negative 3 to clear the parentheses. Negative 3x minus 6 is equal to 6. I'm going to isolate the x by going the order of operations in the backwards direction. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 3x is equal to 12. Divide each side by a negative 3. And x is equal to negative 4. Our next example, we have 6 times 6x plus 6 minus 5 is equal to 1 plus 6x. So same idea as the previous question, except it's a little bit more complicated. We have x's on both sides of the equal sign, and we also have this extra term here on the left. Same as before, the first thing I'm going to do is distribute that 6 to get rid of the parentheses. So I have 36x plus 36 minus 5 is equal to 1 plus 6x. I'm going to combine my like terms to simplify the left-hand side. 36x plus 31 is equal to 1 plus 6x. I'm going to get the constants to one side, the variables to the other. So negative 31 on each side, and I'm going to subtract a 6x on each side. So I'm left here with 30x is equal to negative 30. Divide each side by 30, and x is equal to negative 1. Our next equation involves some fractions, so we're going to talk about how to clear the denominator. The first thing I'm going to do, just like before, is to distribute, and then we'll talk about how to get rid of the fractions. The reason why we get rid of the fractions is to just make the equation simpler to solve. It's possible to solve with the fractions the way that they are, but it can be a little tedious and there's more room for error. So now that I've distributed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the fractions. So I have a 3 in the denominator and a 2 in the denominator. And I'm going to look for the least common denominator. So what that means is I want to look for the smallest number that 3 and 2 could divide into evenly. And that number is going to be 6. I'm going to distribute that 6 to every term on both sides of that equal sign. So 2/3 times x is going to give me a 4x. If you do this and you don't clear the denominator, meaning that you're still left with a fraction, then you did the process wrong and you should try again. Plus 6 times 9 is 54, is equal to 6 times 1/2, which is 3x, plus 6. Again, we're going to isolate our variable. (4x minus 3x is x). 6 minus 54 is a negative 48. After these examples, you should have the tools in order to solve any linear equation.